to talk about how much vitamin D a person should take on daily basis. Is it really safe to take 10,000 of IUs daily, or is it going to cause toxicity? Well, you will just come to know in some time. Every cell and tissue in our body has receptors of vitamin D. Yet most of the people are deficient in vitamin D. What are the deficiencies of vitamin D? Apart from rickets, osteopenia, osteoporosis, which we have heard earlier, these are basically softening and weakening of the bones. Apart from that, there's a lot of symptoms of deficiency of vitamin D. It weakens our immune system. Now there's something in our immune system and our WBCs, which are called helper T cells. Now these play a very important role in strengthening our immune system. These help in identifying self from non-self cells. So when you're deficient in vitamin D, these helper T cells go down and they are not able to identify which is our own cells and which is the foreign cells. So these leads to autoimmune diseases. That means our body starts to attack its own cells. These are the common reasons for autoimmune diseases like rheumatic arthritis, type 1 diabetes, Hashimoto's, and so on. Deficiency of vitamin D also leads to a lot of inflammatory diseases. It leads to depression. It increases blood pressure and so on. So like I said, apart from rickets and osteopenia, there are a lot of deficiencies of vitamin D. Now the RDAs have said that one should have around 600 IUs of vitamin D on daily basis, and for elders it is 800 IUs. But these only cover rickets and osteopenia and osteoporosis. They do not focus on these other much more serious deficiencies of vitamin D. Now one thing I would like to say that toxicity of vitamin D is very rare. Now there is another vitamin which is known as vitamin K2, which is also a fat soluble vitamin. So vitamin D along with vitamin K2 plays a very important role in strengthening of our bones. Vitamin D helps in the absorption of calcium from the gut into our blood, and vitamin K2 helps in mobilizing, in transporting the calcium into the bones and strengthening it. So most of the time people are deficient in K2. The symptoms of deficiency of vitamin K2 is very similar to the symptoms of toxicity of vitamin D. So are you really having too much of vitamin D or not enough of vitamin K2? So therefore, whenever you're taking supplements of vitamin D, make sure that it has vitamin K2 as well. When you think of osteoporosis, when you think of osteopenia, vitamin D is not only the only vitamin that helps in strengthening of the bones, vitamin K2 is also a key element. So the other factor is the international units. Whenever we think of vitamin D, the measurement comes 10,000 IUs or 600 IUs. The IUs is international units. Now this is a very confusing form of measurement. It is not like how the other forms of measurement like mass, volume, weight. It is something different. It is an arbitrary measurement which has been selected by the health committee. So this becomes a very confusing form of measurement. Now the IUs of vitamin E, vitamin A, vitamin D, they are all very different. They differ from one vitamin to the other. For example, the IU of vitamin E is 0.67 milligram. The IUs of vitamin A, so there are two forms of vitamin A. Beta carotene, which is the precursor, and retinol, which is the active form of vitamin A. So the IU of beta carotene is 0.6 microgram and the IU of retinol is 0.3 microgram. Now 1 IU of vitamin D is 0.025 microgram. So basically this is just a quarter of microgram, which is not much. But when you think about 10,000 IUs, we always get scared that, oh my god, it is quite a high amount of vitamin D at one time. But it's not. Like I said, it's just a quarter of microgram. Now there are also a lot of barriers when it comes to absorption of vitamin D in our body. The first is skin. Darker the skin, the poor absorption of vitamin D because of the presence of melanin. It is a pigment which is present in our skin. So if you have darker skin, that means you have more melanin in your skin. And hence, such people have to be out in the sun for a much longer time because it takes a lot of time for them to absorb vitamin D as compared to people who have lighter skin. The second is age. People who are older, they have poor absorption of vitamin D as compared to people who are younger. Weight. The more weight you have, that means this is obesity. The more weight you have, the more fat you have in your body, poor absorption of vitamin D as compared to people who are much leaner. Insulin resistance. People who have a condition which is called insulin resistance lead to poor absorption of vitamins and minerals in their body. Hence, they are more deficient in vitamin D. People who are going through a lot of stress have poor absorption of vitamin D. There are also people who have a lot of genetic issues related to vitamin D absorption and other minerals and vitamins. Even where you're living, the geographical location plays a very important role in absorption of vitamin D. People who live in higher altitudes, higher latitudes, the UV rays at such higher altitudes and latitudes is very low as compared to people who are living closer to the equator. Hence, there is poor absorption of vitamin D in people living at higher altitudes. Season. There is poor absorption of vitamin D in winters as compared to summers because of less sunlight. People who are having gut issues, inflammatory gut issues, they have poor absorption of vitamin D. Apart from that, people who have liver problems, people who have gallbladder problems, gallbladder has been removed or there is lack of bile. You know that bile plays a very important role in absorption of vitamin D and other fat soluble vitamins. So whenever there are issues with liver, gallbladder, even bile, it leads to poor absorption of vitamin D. Apart from that, most of us stays indoors. We're scared of sunlight, we're scared of sun because we always consider whenever we're going out in the sun, whenever there's high UV rays, there are chances of skin cancer, pigmentation, spots on the skin and so on. There are various skin issues you face whenever you're out in the sun. Hence, we apply a lot of sunscreen, we use hats. So we are blocking vitamin D. So there's poor absorption of vitamin D. For toxicity of vitamin D to happen, you need to consume thousands of IUs of vitamin D per day, not 10,000 of IUs. Apart from that, there are certain cofactors you need to consider to prevent toxicity of vitamin D. These are other vitamins and minerals we should always consume on a regular basis. One is K2, which I've already mentioned about. Vitamin K2 plays a very important role in converting vitamin D to its active form. So it prevents toxicity. Apart from that, taking magnesium in your diet, taking adequate zinc in your diet. These prevents toxicity of vitamin D because they allow vitamin D to stay in its active form. Have at least 2 to 3 liters of water a day. I hope these points were useful. I'll be posting more videos related to nutrition and health. This is Megha Vijay signing off.